It all started 11 years ago. I was 23, Katie was 21. We met at a friend's birthday party, and she was one of those people you couldn't miss. Bright, playful, full of confidence, and she definitely knew how to catch a guy's attention. A couple of months later, we ended up moving in together. I worked for a logistics company, while Katie was just starting out as a hairdresser. We weren't even thinking about marriage or kids back then. We were living for ourselves, just enjoying life and the freedom of youth, and that went on for a solid 2 years. Then one day, I got an offer to switch to a job in international transport. The pay was a lot better, and I knew that if we were going to travel to different countries, or even just have nice vacations at home, we needed more cash. So I jumped at the chance without a second thought. I ended up traveling a lot. I'd be gone for a month or 2, then home for a week or so. Katie didn't hold back. She had everything she needed. Every time I came back, she'd greet me with a smile, looking gorgeous, caring, and warm. Though we were still just living together, no official married status yet. One day I said, "Katie, seriously, we should just get married already. It's time to think about the future, kids, and all that. Let's do this." She laughed and said, "Well, the proposal's not exactly romantic, but sure, why not?" Our wedding was everything Katie had dreamed of. She got the fairy tale ceremony she wanted. Since I knew how much she loved her work as a hairdresser, we decided to take a leap and bought her a salon. We did it on an installment plan, but it felt right. Everything seemed perfect, like the kind of life people always dream about. But the whole kids thing, well, that part didn't go as smoothly. People kept asking us the same question. "When are you having kids? When will we meet your little ones?" It started to get awkward because we had no answers to give. We tried, but those 2 lines on the pregnancy test never showed up. Katie started getting stressed out. She'd break down in tears at the mention of someone else having a baby, or even just talking about pregnancy in general. By then, she was 28 and I was 30, and we were starting to feel the weight of it all. One night, just after I'd left for one of my longest flights, Katie called me. She was crying so hard she could hardly get the words out, but between sobs, she finally told me the test showed the 2 stripes we've been waiting for. Those next 2 months were the hardest of my life. Katie was at home, dealing with everything on her own, while I was flying all over the place, unable to be there for her. We did manage to get a loan for an apartment and finally moved out of our rented place into something we could call our own, our little nest, ready for the next chapter. When our son arrived, it felt like a whole new world. I honestly thought we had it all: a good income, a beautiful wife running a salon she loved, a son, an apartment, a car. It seemed like the perfect recipe for happiness. But things started changing. Katie started complaining a lot. She said she was tired, that she no longer had time to meet with friends. Our finances were tight. Most of my salary went to pay the loan for the apartment, plus all the expenses for house repairs, car maintenance, and gasoline. The salon brought in a small income. All this was spent on paying rent, bills, and paying salaries to employees. So no matter how hard I tried to establish a relationship, it wasn't easy. One day, my flight got cut short because of issues with a client. Before I even reached the border, I was told to turn around and head back to base. On the way, my friend Stan called asking to meet up. He sounded like he needed to talk about something serious. I decided that he and his wife had quarrelled again and agreed. After our meeting, I wanted to go home to see Katie and the baby. We went to one of the city's busiest bars. Stan insisted on it. We found a quiet corner, had a few drinks, and talked about life, wives, and kids. We even reminisced about the good old days of our youth. By midnight, we were both feeling pretty buzzed, and the urge to dance hit us. I stepped out onto the dance floor, but as I scanned the crowd, I froze. There, in the middle of the dance floor, was Katie, clearly drunk, dancing passionately with some guy I didn't recognize. All the alcohol in my system seemed to disappear in an instant. Katie, who the hell is this guy? What are you doing here? With him? She just mumbled. A son. My son is at home with a babysitter. Let's go outside. We need to talk about what's going on here. The guy looked genuinely scared, but I wasn't backing down. Stan just lowered his head. I could already guess what was coming, and I had a feeling I knew why we were here. Katie finally said, "Yeah, Arthur, and I have been seeing each other for a while. And I think it's time for a paternity test. Daniel isn't your son." I swear, my legs almost gave way beneath me. I didn't even know what to say. I'd worked my ass off for my family, put in all those hours, and sacrificed so much. Hell, I'd even been living out of my car for 8 years, all to make sure they had everything. And now this was the reality, a beautiful lie. The paternity test didn't exactly go in my favor. So, the divorce came pretty quickly after that. I left the salon, which was barely staying afloat anyway, as a parting gift. But the car, that was mine. And the apartment too. She and Arthur wouldn't be able to make the payments anymore. 6 months later, Katie and Arthur broke up. He just couldn't keep up with all of her demands for a luxurious life. She tried to reach out to me afterward, apologizing, begging for another chance. But taking a backstabber like that back into my life, especially with someone else's kid in the mix, nah, life's too short for that.